Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And if you're a true General Hospital fan, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started with today's video. According to General Hospital, spoilers, Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, suffered from severe PTSD while in WSB custody, therefore, was stone-cold sexually raped while in prison. Jason made an explosive return to the canvas during the Monday, July 13th broadcast, which also marked the 16,000 milestone. Fans could tell right once that Jason had been through hell and back during his time in Jakarta based on his stature, facial expressions, and the fact that he'd dropped so much weight. The individual was first seen on a plane returning home. During the flight, fans watched flashbacks of what he went through while in the WSB prison, including a guard abusing and beating him. Jason has always been a man of few words, but this was taken to a new level at his homecoming concert on Monday. He appeared conflicted and torn. It was apparent that he was glad to be returning home to his son, Danny Morgan, Asher and Tonizon, but Jason was also relieved to be out of the prison cell. The man has a new lease on life, and he is eager to begin a new chapter. Still, Sonny Corinthos, Maurice Bernard, henchman has seen a lot over the years. Jason has been taken hostage, kidnapped, and beaten before, so there's clearly more to this story than meets the eye. Fans of General Hospital may recall Michael Corinthos, Rory Gibson, being raped in 2011 while serving a prison sentence for the murder of Claudia Zakara, Sarah Joy Brown. This was a story rarely given to soap opera lovers, therefore it was a unique storyline for its time. Could history repeat itself with Michael's uncle? Jason has clearly experienced trauma, which extends far beyond being pummeled on a daily basis. After all, when Jason returned from his FBI mission in 2023, he was changed, but not this much. According to General Hospital summer teasers, Jason's WSB captivity will have a deep effect on how he perceives life and wants to live it in the future. He plans to make significant changes that will affect Danny, Sonny, Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thiebaud, Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, and the Quartermain family. Jason may wish to live a quieter life, spend more time with Danny, and leave his gun-toting mob ways to someone else. After everything he's been through, he may simply want to be left alone to focus on his family and loved ones. Jason may perhaps be finished playing the role of everyone's hero. Who could blame him, given everything he's been through? General Hospital spoilers indicate that Jason may take months to confide in anybody about the incident that has left him so devastated, so it will be some time before viewers or anyone else discovers the truth about the horror he experienced. Jason Morgan peered out the small, grimy window of the cargo plane, the buzz of the engines reverberating through his damaged body like a distant echo of the agony he'd experienced. The bruise on the bridge of his nose throbbed with each heartbeat, a continual reminder of the fists he had received in that Jakarta cage. Even the flight attendant, who had before thrown him a cautious smile, could see he had dropped weight. His once powerful frame, honed over years of survival on the streets of Port Charles and elsewhere, suddenly felt empty and weak in ways he had never allowed himself to feel before. The flashbacks came unexpectedly, as they had since the WSB guards hauled him away from Port Charles months ago. He had taken the fall for Rocco Falconeri, confessing to shooting WSB director Ross Cullum to protect the youngster from a life-altering mistake. It was the kind of selfless gesture that defined Jason, stone cold, the enforcer who prioritized devotion over anything else. However, loyalty had cost him everything this time. As the plane took him home, the memories returned with painful clarity. He recalled the cold bite of the shackles as the WSB agents had hauled him into custody outside the PCPD. Jack Brennan's face had been expressionless, providing no information about where they were transporting him. Orders from the top, Jack had stated. Jason had not fought it. Not with Danny's pained cries still echoing in his ears. Britt's desperate pleas tore at him, but he had fortified himself. This was the price he would pay to safeguard the next generation from the darkness he was all too familiar with. The cell in Jakarta was a black site, a forgotten section of WSB operations where no regulations applied. The guards were shadows of men, their faces obscured by the low illumination and Jason's refusal to look them in the eyes. Initially, it was the beatings. routine and systematic. A guard, tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar along his left cheek, would enter at random times. The door slammed open, and the onslaught would commence. Fists to the ribs, boots on the back. Jason had taken it worse in mob fights, but the seclusion exacerbated the blows. There's no Sonny Corinthos to back him up. No Carly Spencer plotting to release him. Only concrete walls and a metallic taste of blood in his lips. Nights blended into one another. Sleep was a luxury that was denied. Jason would fall asleep only to be jolted awake by nightmares in which Danny's voice shouted out for him, unanswered. In one recurring dream, he screamed no, repeatedly, his voice raw, while unseen, inexorable hands held him down. Physical discomfort was one thing. The deeper transgression crept in slowly, weakening the walls he'd put around his psyche since his injury years ago, which took away his prior life as Jason Quartermain. Even before he returned, gossip in Port Charles began to swirl. Fans and characters alike spoke about his amazing transformation. When the flashbacks played throughout his airline travel, they revealed more than just beatings. The guard's proximity, the way he lingered after the fight, and the power disparity in that isolated hell all pointed at something terrible. Was Jason sexually assaulted? Years ago, the program danced around Michael's tragic jail narrative, in which a young Corinthos heir endured unthinkable terror behind bars. For longtime fans, seeing Michael's uncle repeat history felt like a stomach strike. In the dark light of his cell, Jason initially fought back. Every time the guard entered, he prepared for a battle. However, chains hampered his movements. Hunger weakened him. The toughest part was the psychological warfare, taunts about his family and how Port Charles had carried on without him. "Your boy's growing up fatherless," the soldier would growl as he trapped Jason, his breath hot on his ear. "Wife, girlfriend? They forget about guys like you." Britt's strength and fire flashed across his head in those moments. Danny has innocent eyes. They saved his life, but the violations became more severe. One particularly harsh night stood out. The guard had been drinking, and his eyes were glazed with something beyond cruelty. Jason was hurled to the ground, and the cold cement scraped his skin. The thrashing became more severe, but the hands changed their aim. Jason's thoughts recoiled as his body persevered. He had shut down, dissociating as he had learned to do in numerous life-threatening situations. Stone cold became ice incarnate, detached from the pain and humiliation. But detachment had its limits. In the aftermath, lying twisted on the floor, writhing from his fresh wounds, Jason felt a fracture in a center that no bullet or brawl could have created. Jocelyn Jack's arrangement with WSB leadership resulted in an abrupt release. Cullum was portrayed as a hero, and the scandal was buried. Jason and Valentine Cassadine were released. But freedom did not remove the scars. On the plane, as Tristan, the strange companion sent to guide him, talked about home, Jason mumbled to himself, "Soon, I'll have everything that I need." It was a survival mantra, but his eyes said otherwise. Haunted. Distant. A man was reconsidering every decision that had brought him back to this devastated state. Back in Port Charles, Danny's reconnection was all or nothing. The youngster burst into tears as he ran into his arms at the Quartermain launch. Jason hugged him tightly, inhaling his son's familiar aroma, yet the embrace was cautious. How could he explain the weight he was carrying now? Flashbacks from the flight showed him writhing in agony on the cell floor, and the guard's announcement of freedom felt like another cruel joke. He has cuts on his hands from fighting back. Nightmares that caused him to bolt upright, even in the safety of the plane. The PTSD symptoms appeared quickly. Jason, who had previously been unflappable, now flinches at abrupt noises. His dealings with Sonny were tense. The mob life that had defined him suddenly felt like a flashback. Britt observed it as well. The way he distanced himself during their emotional reunion, his hands cautious when they had once been passionate. "What did they do to you?" she murmured one night, but Jason remained silent. Stone Cold didn't discuss vulnerability. Not even with the lady he adored. Fans speculated wildly. The piece titled, "Was Jason essayed while in WSB custody?" grabbed the zeitgeist. It wasn't stated on film, but the implications were clear. The weight loss, the profound silence, the way he gazed at his own hands as if they belonged to someone else. References to Michael's 2011 prison rape scenario provided more fuel. That narrative had been revolutionary and contentious, delving into the long-term ramifications on a character. For Jason, a man whose identity was created through violence, this might completely reshape him. Jason's changes had an impact on Port Charles as the days evolved into weeks. He distanced himself from Sonny's organization, emphasizing Danny above all. Quartermaine family dinners become battlegrounds for unspoken tension. Elizabeth Weber, the empathetic nurse, recognized the trauma, but respected his boundaries. Anna Devane, who had her own WSB past, probed gently for information, but Jason's adherence to the code, even after betrayal, kept his lips sealed. Internally, a fight raged. Nights were the most difficult. The flashbacks grew more intense as he remained alone in his room. The guard's words, the weight pinning him down, the lack of control that had taken away his agency. Jason had always been the protector, the one who sacrificed for others. Now he wondered if he could protect himself from the recollections. Therapy wasn't his thing, but maybe talking to someone, Carly or a professional, could help. For the time being, he has focused his anguish into parenting. Teaching Danny self-defense took on a new significance along with warnings about trusting the wrong people. The WSB's shadow persisted. Jason remembered Jack Brennan's recruitment attempts. Had they considered him an asset even while in custody? Physical and other forms of torture may have been used to coerce him into complying. But Jason Morgan did not break. He adapted. The ordeal forced him to face reality. The mafia life, with its constant risk, had cost him far too much. Danny deserved more. Britt deserved a complete man, not this splintered version. Rumors circulated in the soap community. Will the program go into greater detail on the implications of the assault, or will it remain subtext? General Hospital had a history of dealing with difficult topics, Luke and Laura's questionable origins, Michael's trauma, but compassion was important. Jason's arc promised significant changes, abandoning the enforcer position, repairing family relationships, and possibly even exploring vulnerability with Britt or a new confidant. Friends responded differently. Sonny pressed Jason to return to the fold, but he sensed the distancing. Carly, as furious as ever, confronted him with the changes. "You came back different, Jace.
Talk to me."
His silence said it all. Danny, wise beyond his years, picked up on the dreams. "Dad, did something bad happen?" The question held heavy on Jason's mind, forcing him to choose between protecting his kid and preparing him for the harsh realities of life. In quiet moments, Jason reflected about his past. The accident that ended his Quartermaine life. The rise of Sonny's right hand. Losses include Robin, Sam, and others. This time in detention felt like the pinnacle, a test of Stone Cold's mental fortitude. Sexual trauma, if shown or inferred, would add layers to his stoicism. It explained the relief and pain on the plane ride home. The prison followed you, making freedom bittersweet. Port Charles continued forward, but Jason's homecoming signaled the beginning of a new chapter. Alliances moved. The Quartermaines recognized opportunities for reconciliation. Britt fought for their love, and her resilience mirrored his. However, Jason's enormous impact on life after the WSB necessitated significant decisions, choosing parenting, doubting the violence that defined him, and seeking justice against those responsible for his suffering. The guard's face haunted him the least just now. The way his body had been used as a weapon against his spirit left him feeling impotent. But Jason was a survivor. In the end, it was his answer that defined him, not the suffering itself. Rebuilding trust, recovering for Danny's sake, and possibly finding serenity beyond the label of Stone Cold. As summer spoilers revealed, Jason's imprisonment will affect relationships across the board. Sonny could lose his most faithful ally. Britt could experience either heartbreak or a closer bond. Anna's WSB connections may provide closure or conflict. The Quartermaines would draw him into family strife, challenging him to weigh legacy and hard-earned lessons. The word count increased as the tale unfolded through fan comments and on-screen teasers. Jason's trip from the Jakarta cell to the Port Charles docks was one of perseverance, introspection, and hesitant hope. The man who returned was not the same, yet his stillness contained strength. The question of what happened in jail would fuel tales for months, with PTSD arcs, therapy sessions, and confrontations that revealed new aspects of the mysterious hero. Fans disputed the ethics. Soap operas frequently use trauma for drama, but handling SA with caution was critical. Jason's resilience could inspire, demonstrating that even the strongest can break and rebuild. His relationship with Danny became the anchor. Late-night conversations, shared meals, and teaching the boy that true strength entails asking for help. Britt's efforts paid off in minor ways. A tentative kiss, a shared remembrance of happier times. "Whatever it was, we face it together," she replied. Jason nodded, revealing the first break in his armor. Healing was not a linear process. Flashbacks would return during times of intense stress, such as a failed transaction or a threat to family. But he always kept his focus on the present. The WSB might not be finished with him. Tristan's escort hinted at continued surveillance. New threats loomed, testing his resolve. However, Jason emerged changed, more present and less impulsive. The mob business seemed secondary to legacy, his son's future, repairing old rifts. Jason's WSB ordeal was woven into the magnificent fabric of General Hospital, among iconic survivor stories. From the jail floor to embracing Danny, his journey demonstrated the cost of heroism. The speculation surrounding the assault provided dimension, forcing characters and viewers to confront hard truths about power, suffering, and redemption. Fans of Port Charles have been raising additional questions about Jason's odd disappearance, and one notion has continued to gather traction among watchers. Since details concerning his time in WSB custody became public, suspicion has grown as to what happened to him behind closed doors. Jason has long been characterized as one of the town's most powerful and hardy characters. He is noted for his ability to endure hardship, defend those he cares about, and keep his emotions hidden. However, even someone as robust as Jason may have undergone horrible incidents that he has never discussed. During his absence, little was known about his activities or the conditions in which he was being confined. The opacity surrounding the WSB's role has further fed fan speculation. Questions remain concerning who is in command, what kind of operations Jason took part in, and if he was acting on his own free will. Some viewers feel Jason suffered psychological manipulation or serious mistreatment while under WSB control. Others have speculated that his memories were altered or suppressed, which explains why certain aspects of his background remain unknown. Soap operas regularly explore complex and emotional topics, and buried trauma is commonly utilized to explain a character's altered behavior. Since his return, people have remarked that Jason appears more guarded than usual. Although he has resumed many aspects of his previous life, there have been minor indications that he may still be carrying emotional wounds from his ordeal. His reluctance to explain his incarceration has prompted many to feel there is significantly more to the story than viewers currently know. The likelihood that Jason was abused during his time away has become a hot subject among fans. Such a revelation would fundamentally affect how others perceive his recent actions and relationships. It may also provide further insight into why he appears disconnected from people closest to him. If the authors decide to go in this way, the storyline will most likely center on Jason's struggle to confront terrible memories. For a man who has spent years repressing his feelings, addressing such pain would be extremely difficult. Jason has always preferred action over speech, often choosing to solve problems on his own rather than depending on others. This theory's emotional component is heavily influenced by Jason's interactions with his family and friends. Characters like Carly, Sunny, and Elizabeth have known him for years and would definitely notice if he was suffering silently. Discovering that he faced unspeakable trials could result in heartbreaking scenes and rekindled bonds between these longtime characters. Carly, in particular, has always been very protective of Jason. If she discovered that he had been victimized while in detention, she would very likely seek answers and justice. Sunny would most likely react similarly, regarding anyone involved as an adversary deserving of punishment. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's caring attitude could make her a valuable source of assistance. Throughout the years, she has frequently assisted Jason during his darkest periods. A tale focused on healing and recovery could help to rekindle their connection. Another hypothesis is that certain WSB employees purposefully concealed the truth. Soap operas commonly depict secret agencies as ethically dubious groups eager to break ethical lines to achieve their goals. If Jason was subjected to illegal experimentation, coercion, or other sorts of abuse, it is not surprising that powerful persons would want to cover it up. The enigma surrounding Jason's memories is also very crucial. There may be events he cannot recall. Fragmented flashbacks, unexplainable reactions, or startling emotional triggers could eventually expose details about his incarceration. Such narrative strategies have been employed successfully in numerous dramatic plotlines, keeping viewers interested while clues are gradually revealed. However, it is vital to understand that these ideas are currently just fan speculation. No formal information has been released regarding the specifics of Jason's experiences while under WSB captivity. Soap opera fans are infamous for creating intricate hypotheses based on minor hints and subtle character moments. Even nevertheless, the potential of buried trauma is consistent with many of the unsolved mysteries surrounding Jason's return. His unwillingness to speak publicly about his past, combined with the WSB's secrecy, gives enough possibility for further discoveries. Writers frequently revisit mysterious eras in a character's history, particularly when doing so might result in emotional drama and character growth. If the series choose to continue this storyline, it will need to be handled with caution and sensitivity. Topics concerning abuse and trauma are serious and can have a profound impact on viewers. A smart approach centered on healing, support, and accountability is likely to resonate well with audiences.